Hello everyone, how's it going? In this video, we're going to talk about what is happening with Virgin Galactic. Let's get started. There are 4 topics that we are trying to cover in this particular video. The first topic would be about Richard Branson himself, his history, and his entrepreneurial ideas. The second aspect would be about the short interest and the possibility of a short squeeze and articles of these nature that are coming out. This article came out today where it's talking about 3 reasons to avoid SPCE stock despite the successful test flight. We are also going to talk about this particular article or this particular sue case where an investor sued Virgin Galactic on Friday regarding SPAC's accounting issues. The next aspect is about this 1 billion sale of securities. So there are quite a bit of things that are happening with Virgin Galactic. Let's get started. This is a dilution of 1 billion sale of securities that might potentially happen. Let's get started here. The first step in this particular video I want to talk about is Richard Branson himself, understanding his entrepreneurial ideas and what he has done in the past to where he has come to this level. The reason we're going to do this is because the next few topics that we're going to cover needs to understand this context behind the guy, understanding the jockey more than the horse. So let's get into it. This article came out from CNN Business, and he's talking about he started out with a record company in 1970. Now Richard Branson is launching rockets into space. Yes, Richard Branson did start with a record company called Virgin Records. This was a music company, and that's how he started. But now, one thing before I go into it, all these articles, all these things that we're going to be covering in this video would be in the description for you to use. All the references will be pointed out in the description for you to look and read it for yourself and do your own DD. But let's get started. So before I go into the entrepreneurial ideas and how he started his businesses, one thing I want to point out is Virgin Galactic's founder, Richard Branson, he was dyslexic. It was difficult for him to read, understand, and read literature. That's the disability that he had from the get-go. So understand that. This is a person who had dyslexia. This is a person who has had challenges from the get-go. He had been facing challenges from the beginning, yet he has excelled, and he has excelled to more than what anyone could imagine. This is where he comes from, and we need to understand that. The next thing, let's go into the few things that he has done in the past. 1970, Virgin Records is born. So this is one of his successful businesses, and this is not the first business he has done. Before that, he has done a couple of other aspects. Most of them failed, and some of them did work out, but not as good as the Virgin Records. So he had this music records company called Virgin Records, and he started doing very well. This brought him into the limelight. He also started out this Maynard Open. So this was a record station, and one of the most popular musics had came out from this particular record label. This is an interesting story where it's talking about British Airways, or taking on with British Airways with Virgin Atlantic. And this is an interesting story. What happened is there was a time when he was stranded on Puerto Rico when his flight to British Virgin Islands was cancelled for lack of passengers. So there was a flight that he was using, and that flight was cancelled because of lack of passengers. So he, along with other people, were stranded. So Branson went and chartered a private plane, and he took on a chalkboard and wrote down Virgin Galactic and started selling tickets for that private chartered plane. So that was an interesting thing. But it's not just interesting in that aspect, because many airline companies have started. Even Donald Trump himself had started airlines companies, and airlines companies is very difficult to run. It's very difficult to run a successful airlines company. Many airline companies, there is a saying, if you have $1 billion and if you need to find a best way to lose $1 billion, is you go and start a airlines company. But this guy, he ran a successful Virgin Atlantic business, and which is currently now how he started doing that is very interesting. So he went and he took all these planes that were sitting in the hangars that were not being used, most likely secondhand or maintenance, or the planes that are good for charter but were not being used. He started using those airlines. He started renting those airlines, and he also saw the customer service that was happening with all these airlines companies and how bad it was, how mediocre it was. He pointed out all those things, and he said he could run better than that, and he gave it a try. It worked out very well, because he did not even buy any airlines. He just rented these airlines that were already sitting and which were not being used. He started renting them, and he did very successfully in his first year itself, and that was the start of Virgin Atlantic. and it's going on very successfully. That was not the stop of it. That was not the end. He started doing many other things. This is the Virgin Balloon. Then the Virgin Music Group was sold out to this particular company. Then Virgin British Airways. This is a very good competition that was going on. Very interesting things that were happened. And this is another aspect where Richard Branson has a very live nature in media, in social media, where this was back when Facebook was not even born. And these guys, he had a very good media presence. If he said anything, if he did anything, people paid attention. That was what he was, and he still is. Imagine now at this point, everyone is waiting about Richard Branson taking that third flight with the Virgin Galactic space. That's something which he would do. That's the media attention that he tries to achieve, and he does it very well. And you can see in the next few sections, he started out with the Virgin Money Finance. Then he started out Virgin Brides. This was a wedding dress company. It did not go out very well, but he did out, and this is how he did marketing. This is where Richard Branson he wore this bridal dress, and he came out, and the media paid attention, and it was a hit. Everyone came to know about this. This is another interesting company. Virgin Cola debuts in stateside. So this was already running, and he started in the UK, and then he started in the United States, and he wanted to blow up the competition, especially against Coca-Cola and Pepsi. These guys were big and giants in the world. They're still the giants, and he took a jab against Coca-Cola and Pepsi. So what he did was he took this tank and he drove this tank across the street, and then he said, I'm going to free everyone out of this misery of Coca-Cola and Pepsi. And he took this tank and just drove in a wall of Pepsis and Coca-Cola cans, and everyone paid attention. That's what he did. And he used many other media tactics to gain people attention, and people started paying attention, and they started using Virgin Cola. Slowly and slowly, Virgin Cola sales increased, and people in retail stores started to keep more Virgin Colas than Pepsi and Coca-Cola. Initially, Pepsi and Coca-Cola did not even pay attention to Virgin Cola. It was another brand, another newbie who was trying to come into the market. But when they started to see decline in their sales, so Coca-Cola and Pepsi started to take a hit against Virgin Cola, then they paid attention, and then they started their own campaign of destroying Virgin Cola. So there's a saying where overnight there was a huge amount of money was given out to all these big retail giants and small retail giants, and they spoke about removing Virgin Cola and just keeping Pepsi and Coca-Cola on the shelves. That is what these guys did, and they vanished Virgin Cola just like that. And it was too late for them to go into it, and then it was pushed. That's what they're talking about. The drink was eventually pushed out of business. But the thing to note about is companies like Pepsi and Coca-Cola took a hit from this guy. Then they're talking about this particular airlines. He became Sir Richard. Virgin take on Australia. So other interesting, the gym business, then the train business. Mobile arrives in the US. This was another of his publicity stunt where he wore a dress which almost looked naked, and he came down on the New York's Times Square with this giant phone where he was launching this Virgin Mobile. Then this is where 2004 he launched the Virgin Galactic. So this is another interesting thing to look into. Virgin Galactic is not a new company. It was launched in 2004. They promised that the first space flight would take place in 2008. It did not happen till now. They're still in the process, but these guys started in 2004. Imagine the amount of failures, imagine the amount of setbacks they have already faced before even coming into the market, becoming public, or going through that SPAC route. These guys have already done it. Imagine how it's more than a decade, and these guys are still doing it. Do you think they'll now give up? They'll now give up on their dreams? They're burning cash right from there on, and they're still continuing to do it. But you think they'll give up on it right now? No, these guys are least bothered about it. They are interested in their vision, and that's what they're focusing on. take the test flight, the Virgin Mobile, then the Virgin Galactic technology will send small satellites into orbit. This was another business where they started doing, this was a side of a Virgin Galactic where it was called as Virgin Orbit, which is still a successful company, where they launched these satellites into the orbit using Virgin Orbit. Then the Atlantic Ocean ownership, the test pilot, these are all other stories to look into. You can look into the description and go for this link. But the idea we set forward is this guy's done and he has had a lot of challenges, but he's still succeeded and he's still going on. Now, let's look into this aspect. Virgin Galactic's short interest, it increased a little bit, 17.5%. If you look into the past, it's 17.6. This was 34.3. This was back before the test flight happened. Now the test flight has happened. People have more trust into it, but they're still hoping for another short. So there are shorters who are interested in this particular stock. Now let's look into this particular article where it's talking about 3 reasons to avoid SPCE stock despite their successful test flight. To be honest, articles that come out from Investor Place, I read it with a sense of caution, but let's look into what is happening and you guys can tell me if I'm interpreting anything wrong. The article initially starts off with Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Richard Branson, and the article basically starts off with how SpaceX and Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin are doing better, or they've been into the business for quite a bit of time before Virgin Galactic, and they're trying to do things better. But then he started about Virgin Galactic. But hey, isn't this article about Virgin Galactic? Yeah, it is. So he started talking about Virgin Galactic. So the first step, so he talks about three reasons that he feels that Virgin Galactic is not a good company. The first reason is SPCE stock and the reality of investing in space exploration. So the thesis he talks about is the whole space industry is expected to generate over $1 trillion by 2040 and up to $350 billion today. So he's talking about, initially he's taking that case and setting up that, yes, the space industry is very lucrative and there's a lot of money that needs to be made. And right now, there is no other company apart from SPCE. Blue Origin or SpaceX, both of them are not public companies. There's no other solution apart from Virgin Galactic. So all the investors are investing into Virgin Galactic. That's the thesis that he's presenting with. But if you think about the way Virgin Galactic is doing, Blue Origin and SpaceX, they're both rocket companies where they're launching rockets, and they are planning on, or they're working on getting these rockets back onto the world or back onto the Earth safely, so minimizing the cost of the rocket launches. Virgin, on the other hand, is using their Boeing airplanes or their flights to take these rockets up onto the suborbital, so help in launching that from that level itself. So instead of taking rockets or creating rockets, they're using their planes in order to launch the space or the craft into the airspace. So a much more minimalistic, much more lucrative, and much more efficient model in that sense. But now let's look into this thing, relationship with broader Virgin Group. So he talks about Sir Richard Branson. He's a billionaire and he has a life of multiple ventures. So he has Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Money, Virgin Media, some of the business that we have already gone through. And he's saying that he already has so much of businesses going on. So the mind is divided, and he sold couple of stocks or couple of shares from the SPCE so that he could use that money to fund his other struggling businesses. Well, that's how entrepreneurs do, even if he was doing for that purpose. But if you look into the aspect, Elon Musk has multiple ideas or multiple businesses that are going on. If you can't even name the number of businesses that Elon Musk are handling on your fingers. He's looking into Tesla, the SpaceX, the Boring Company, the Neuramind. Yeah, there are a few things that you can even remember or keep it on your fingers, and he's still doing it, and everything is working out balancedly, and he's able to manage everything properly. That's how entrepreneurs work, and that's how the jockey works. And if you're only looking at the horse, no, that doesn't make sense fully. Now, the next aspect is talking about the financials need a facelift. Yeah, so he's talking about, the Virgin Galactic has been losing money. They have been giving out negative quarters. They're not making money. Yes, that's true. He's also even going to the expect of talking about R&D. The R&D expenses are going down. The administrative expenses are going up, and all those shenanigans they're talking about in this particular stock. And if you come back to the point, when was Virgin Galactic launched? 2004. They have been burning cash ever since. They just got public last year. You think they'll turn around the ship right away? No, they are working, and right now I think the best time for them was to go into public right now, is because they are close to the test flights. They're close to completion of their or making their system perfect for commercial launch. Now they would need more money in order to or make those assembly process for their spacecraft more efficient, so that they can launch more spacecrafts and more vehicles out in the space. And this is the best time for them to go into the public. And yes, stock market is here to make money for the entrepreneurs, for the business. That's why companies come to the stock market. And then he makes the kill bit about better to stay away from SPCE stock, because one, Bezos, he said that he's going to be resigning or stepping down as the CEO of Amazon, and instead he's going to be focusing on Blue Origin. So Blue Origin could be something that you should be looking at instead of Virgin Galactic. Okay, thank you for letting us know. The next article we're talking about, this particular article where an investor sued Virgin Galactic on Friday over SPAC's accounting issues. So this particular article is talking about on April 30, SPCE or Virgin Galactic announced that they had to restate their 2020 results because of new accounting guidance that came out from SEC. So the SEC set forth new guidance in April that warrants which are issued to early investors in the deals might not be considered equity instruments and maybe instead be liabilities for accounting purposes. So if you look into this particular article from SEC, yes, this came out in April, on the 12th of April 2021. This is a new article or new guidance that came out for all SPACs, where it's talking about warrants. Initially, all the SPACs were considering warrants as equity, but now SEC wants, this is just in the case of SPACs, and it wants all these warrants to be considered as liabilities. So that changes the whole perspective of the accounting statement. And this is not just for Virgin Galactic. This is for everyone, all the SPACs who did something similar. So this particular investor called Shane Levine said in a lawsuit filed Friday in federal court in Brooklyn, New York, that Virgin Galactic and its executives knew that the results they were reporting were wrong. I mean, how are they going to be? That doesn't make sense. This guidance came out from SEC very recently. They're seeking class action status for their lawsuit. So they are seeking class action status for their lawsuit, which means that if they were to win, and this particular case, if they were to win, or whatever would happen, so they are representing a larger public who might and who similarly lost money into that drop. So basically on the 30th of April, when they announced, the shares fell 9%. So this particular investor is saying that he lost money. So he's saying that it's going to be a class action suit where, like if there were more people, and yes, there were more people who lost money, they would also be compensated because of this lawsuit. Doesn't make sense at all. And if you look into these comments right here, these they're much funny, very funny. The knives are out, coming out for the 30-minute spacecraft. Some people are just terrible investors, just buy mutual funds. Wow, losers can't make money. They set rules of financial risk. So hire me, an ambulance chaser. So yeah, that's something interesting to look into. Now, this particular article is talking about a prospectus files a prospectus on 1 billion sale of securities. If you look into the SEC filings, this is from Virgin Galactic, and this particular filing about 1 billion. So this is what they're trying to raise from the stock market in terms of common stock, preferred stock, debt, depository, warrants, purchase contracts, units. So it's a mixed bag of everything involved. About 2.6% of the shares of underlying outstanding warrants. So they have quite a bit of plans going on, and I think this is the best time for them to do this, because now that their test flights are working out, everything is working out. Now they have a good say in order to where they want to be in terms of commercialization of this spacecraft. This article is talking about the 1 billion mixed securities and up to 2.7 billion shares of common stock. I think this was a typo, a big typo with the B. 2.7 billion shares. There's no talking about 2.7 billion shares. However, there's talk about 2.7 million shares of common stock, not 2.7. But yeah, anything just for you to look into. I'll put all the links in the description for you to read and understand yourself and go through it. And with that, take care, stay safe. Bye-bye.